This is lighting part 3. What I'm going to do is just go through the steps, setting up a lighting project from scratch. So, and then you can take and compare it to your, whatever environment. So let's look at floor plans on level 1. Basically, I'm going to copy these walls. And move them over. We should have copied the floor as well. It's not terribly important. I'm just going to edit the shape of it. Just a line. Alright, apparently that's skewed. Let's just get rid of the curve part. Somehow that went astray. Send the floor past. Alright. Let's create a ceiling. Create 2 ceilings. One will be the main ceiling, and that'll be a grid. Right? So if I let's drop in an elevation symbol here. So we want to be able to see all 4 sides of this floor. Alright. If I go to that elevation, that's what I'm looking at, window. And I think we set true north to its correct position. So if we were to turn on shadows, we would get some light over that. We don't have a ceiling in here, so this is the ceiling. Let's go back to the plan view, and let's now go to ceiling plan. We don't seem to have the wall that negotiates between those 2 points, so let's draw it. What are we using for a wall? Basic interior wall. The drawing instrument that you want is a start and radius. That's referring well. Let's use finish face exterior. Start and release. No. Okay. There we go. That'll do. Let's just go to our 3D view and see what we have here. Seems we wanted that curtain wall to be embedded in there. So what I'm going to do is split this element, that segment of wall, rather than mess around with it. So let's change this to wireframe and just delete that curtain wall. The hidden line. Okay, so I'm going to modify split element. I'm going to split it horizontally. There and there. Okay, because it's stupid. The wall has a base to it. So let's just change this to generic, and then we'll modify it and just make it glass or something. Duplicate a transparent wall and edit. Change the thickness to 2 and just make this glass. Material palette's a little clunky. Oh, I didn't want it to be 2 feet, 2 inches. It's not a bulletproof, right? And let's just change that wall to something different, generic. Okay, so we still have the effect. We can have the effect of letting light into the space. The conference room I actually built had glass block in that wall. So let's go to the ceiling plan for level 1. What's the height of these walls? They're unconnected, 10 feet. Good. So we're going to place the ceiling at 9 feet. Because this is enclosed, I ought to be able to do an automatic ceiling. Oh, let's see. Automatic 2 by 2. Let's use that one. Yeah. So mine is too short. What's wrong with that? Let's sketch the ceiling. Select the curve, that wall, that wall, that one, that one. Now, we got a little bit of a issue with the shape of it. Let's just remove this line. I really don't care that much about it. Let's see if we can join those. They don't intersect, not yet, right? Okay. I'm cheating a little bit. Sloppy, but that'll do. Recording. The ceiling's at 8 feet. I'm going to change it to 9. Let's do a cove around all this. So we'll show you a little trick with ceilings. You can take the boundary of that ceiling, cancel out of this, and I'm going to draw a second ceiling, architecture ceiling. This time I'm going to do a gypsum board ceiling, and I'm going to sketch it, and I'm going to paste those lines in place, paste in line to current view. Now I'm going to offset that by 12 inches. No, how about 16? That'll be 1.5 copy. See if we can trim this and make the geometry work. And trim these together. All right, it's not pretty, but it's sufficient, right? So we have that ceiling at 8 feet. Let's look at a section. I'm going to draw a section. View. Oh, can't see them here. Why not? Right. Level 1. Go to view. So we have our drop ceiling and our main ceiling and back. We're going to use that cove as for accent lights for whatever. Okay, we're 15 minutes in. So let's start with an ambient layer. We'll put in some troffer lights. I think we have some loaded in this model. Let's see. Yeah, there's our 2x2, the 2x2 that we want to use. Place on face. Remember, the spacing criteria for some of these is more depending on which side of the light is located where. Some of these are spaced generally closer together in one direction, but let's just make some assumptions about the 2x2 here. So we look at our elevation. Go to our elevation view. You see some lights. Now, there's visibility settings that you can set for lighting that allow you to reveal the shape, the lighting distribution. So if I go to lighting fixtures and click on this light source, I'm going to assign it a color. It's going to make it, let's make it magenta, something like that. Okay. So that now that reveals the shape of the light source that comes with that luminaire. That's a fairly uniformly distributed. Let's cut cross section as well. While I was looking at the building. Well, okay. For now, let's go back to our ceiling plan and put in some recessed cans. So we know something about the shape of those lighting fixtures. Downlight, recessed can. For now, we'll use the 6-inch incandescent. Let's place them at regular intervals. According to this, I'm using grid about every 4 feet. I'm not doing this very accurately. I'm not after that right now. Every 4 feet. Is that what I'm approximately placing according to the grid. Right, you can do this on your own more carefully than I'm doing it right now. Now let's just stick an extra one there. So if I go back to that elevation now, you see how it's giving me the light pattern. Let's go back to the floor plan view. And let's just set up a quick perspective. Camera, I'm going to aim in the direction that room, right? Let's turn on shadows. Sun settings. We're going to do summer solstice 12 p.m. so we should get some light through that window. Right? A little bit. That's fine for our purposes. Remember, you can, now for the perspective view, in order to sort of examine what is happening with the lighting, I'm going to turn on the light source as well. Let's make it a different color for the perspective view. No, we'll make it the same. Okay, so that's what we got for lights. Now there appears to be a lot of overlap, right? Because the spread for that light is fairly wide. If I go into the type, and look at the properties, tilt angle, we want that to be 90. The 30 is the spot beam, and the field is 90. The field, let's try to cut that back to something like 65 and apply. All right, so that is narrowing the overall, and we still have the beam angle there. Let's make this more like 50. Okay, so this is again, we're trying to visualize graphically how the patterns associated with fixtures will distribute our lighting selection in this project. I wanted to introduce that quickly, and we'll continue with this in a separate lesson, but we can render. Always start with the draft, work incrementally. We want sun and artificial. Now we grouped lights here, so these are probably going to be in the ungrouped lights because they were placed after we grouped other lights. So let's see what happens with this. There's pretty intense exposure. When you start to see this in Revit, which fairly accurately represents, right? One thing you could do to troubleshoot is rerun it with just artificial only. See if it's maybe this sunlight is a source of that over saturation. So that did appear to be a significant source of that, this saturated light. Now, what we're getting here is what is known as scalloping, and that's when the spacing of the lights they're too far apart, so there isn't enough overlap to give you an even wash along the perimeter. And we also, don't forget, the lights are pointing straight down. They're 90, the tilt angle is 90 degrees. So in this very simple example, we're studying the parameters that we have control over. The lighting elements, we use the simple 2x2 troffers, which are, have one pattern associated with it, and then we manipulated somewhat the pattern associated with the incandescent recessed downlights.